Welcome to the Maui Pono Network interviews for the County Council. And right now I am with Jon Yokouchi, who is running for Upcountry County Council. Also with me is Lucianne Dene, is one of our interviewers with Rita Ryan and Ann Picathley. So the three of them will be asking most of the questions. I'm going to start with the first question, and then I'm going to go on mute and I'll be just in the background. But Jon, I want to first welcome you to our interview. It's nice having you here with us. And thank you for running
so much.
Yeah, thank you for running for County Council. I know it takes a lot to run for local office like this, so it's well appreciated. Let me ask the first question then in terms of your background. What I'd like is, could you just give an overview of your history in terms of what qualifies you to be a County Council member? Certainly there's a lot of legislation that happens in that seat. So if you could give an overview of how you're qualified for that from your background.
Okay, well, first of all, my father was Pandi Yokouchi, as I'm sure all of you know, and he taught us at a young age to try and give back to the community. So I'm trying to give back now. At 67 years old, trying to give back to what I think Maui needs right now is a leader in the council. And I think I fit the mold to that. And I live in upcountry right now, so I care about the water situation. We don't have, during this past year, we had a severe drought. So I want to just make sure that the council is filled with people who knows what's going on. And that will be me, I think. So that's about it.
So
Another thing, I think I have good leadership qualities. I think that will help the council.
Great. Could you tell us specific things that you've done in the past in terms of your profession and your interest, committees that you've served on, other things that would be of interest in terms of supporting you in this seat?
Well, first thing I'd say that I used to help a lot of volunteer work. I used to volunteer at the MAC, and I need to think about this.
Well, if you have any other specific things, have you been involved with construction or other things along that line? That
No,
gives a little bit more of your background.
I used to run a shopping center for my family, 2 shopping centers. Taught me a lot of things, how to run a shopping center, how to get bids for the lowest possible price on building or fixing up the place. So that would be my quality that I would bring to the council.
Great. Thank you with that. And Lucianne, you're next.
Mahalo. And hi, Jon. I don't know if we've ever met in person, but a great admirer of your dad, as is everybody in Maui.
Yes.
I'd like to follow up. I'm glad to see that you're very interested in water for Upcountry. I wonder if you attended any of the presentations that the water director made about the new wells that are planned for Upcountry?
Well, I haven't. I just heard about it last week that there were plans to build that reservoirs. So that's a good thing. That's a real positive thing. And I used to live in Upcountry since 1976 to the middle 90s. I used to live with my family up in Kula. As long as I can remember, there was always people waiting for water meters. I couldn't understand why. So if I'm elected council, the first thing I'll do is try to fix the water system up in Upcountry. The water problem, actually. We're trying to get meters for everyone who wants a meter, instead of people waiting decades for a meter. That's just not fair.
That's quite a noble goal. I think that I've heard a few candidates speak to that in the past, and so what would be your priority if you got in? Is there like a bill you'd like to introduce? Because the council's pretty much a lawmaking body. what law do you think we might need to have in order to have a better water supply upcountry?
Well, the wells are being, I don't know what exactly, is it wells they're building? I'm not sure.
Well, wells have been approved, and also the director is looking at purchasing the one or two possible additional wells that already exist but are not used. In
Right,
other words, they're on
right.
private land, but the people are willing to sell them to the county, and the county
Yeah,
can add them to their system. Yeah.
right. I think you're talking about Maui Land and Pine, right? Correct?
Actually, there's two private, there's Maui Land and Pine, and then there's also two private landowners that
Oh, okay.
have very large wells on their
Yeah.
properties. Yeah.
That'll be a start to going forward in terms of getting more water for upcountry. But I think we need another reservoir to really satisfy the people in upcountry.
Hmm.
That'll help a lot, a lot.
So
No.
you would probably want to introduce a bill to make sure that that got in the budget or something, a resolution urging the department to build an additional reservoir upcountry.
Yes, I would.
Yeah. Have you ever tracked a bill through the process, been to testify for any of the hearings, anything
No,
on the different bills?
I haven't. No,
Okay. Well,
this is
uh,
all new. It's all new to me.
well, thank you for jumping at the deep end of the pool. I'm going to pass you on to Rita.
Yes.
Hi, John. Nice to meet you.
Hi,
Um,
nice to meet you, Rita.
yeah, I think I'm gonna follow up on Lucien's questions about water. Do you feel that the wells will solve the problem when water in the aquifer is, at low levels? The wells will get the water that's there, but if there's no water in the aquifers, if it turns, briny and salt water, uh,
Right.
and we don't have a really good way to determine, because of the porous nature, of course, of our island, how much water are in those aquifers. Do you have a plan for improving the state of the aquifers, and how can we recharge those aquifers?
Well, first of all, like we have so many droughts upcountry. I think we need reservoirs, big reservoirs. That would help a lot instead of the wells. You can always during the rainy season, you can always take that water and put in reservoirs, so you have a capacity of water, large capacity of water. But as
Hmm.
for the wells, I don't know. I would have to really check into that. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie to you.
right.
This is all new to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And are you familiar with
But
the upcountry, the watershed, what the watershed is upcountry, as far as the the trees, basically, that the trees are what, create the clouds that bring the water, the trees and the water and the whole water cycle, and it has been diminished, certainly, by many reasons, changes in the climate, uh, ranching, deforestation, that sort of thing. How would you propose to replenish that watershed? What kind of ideas would you have so that we can retain at least the diminishing water supply that we have now, and not do further damage to that watershed?
well, that takes it back to reservoirs again. We need to put water and hold on to the water as much as we can. So, it rains up country quite often, but during summer and even this past winter time, we had a drought. It didn't rain at all. So the thing is, we need to find, I don't know how you can refill the aquifers without rain. There's only way, I think, right?
Right.
So
Right, by attracting
we
more
need
rain to the
reservoirs.
watershed. Yeah, yeah, which is if
Yeah,
overflow
how do you track rain to the watershed? But
trees.
this is Mother Nature, right?
Yeah,
Because
trees.
I believe in climate change. Oh, yeah, right. I
Yeah.
believe in climate change. I think it's only going to get worse, in my opinion.
Hmm.
That's why we have to be more prepared. It's always going to bring me back to saying we need more reservoirs.
Right. That actually brings me to my
That's all.
question. I was following up on Lucienne's questions there. My question about the climate crisis. Maui County declared a climate emergency several years ago and put plans in place, and the state under Governor Ige at the time. All of the counties also declared climate emergencies, and then the state followed suit, and Governor Ige declared a climate emergency. And there were specific things in that climate emergency and goals that we had put out in order to not only reduce our carbon footprint, but also for mitigation. What do you see as the climate impacts of Upcountry specifically, the area that you will potentially represent?
Well, climate change is climate change. You can't do anything about it, I think, unless I'm missing something. So we just need to be more prepared for climate change. And I think it's going to happen. They said even if the climate change were to stop right now, Waikiki will still be under the water in 20, 40 years from now. So
Right,
that's
yeah.
how bad it is.
Right, right. Well, there is, certainly, by putting more carbon into the atmosphere, we're accelerating the rate of climate change. So
Right,
the
right.
the emergency plan is to reduce that, and having all county vehicles, state vehicles, electric by some of the dates are 2035, 2040, 2045 for different things, so that we join the rest of the world in reducing our own climate footprint and take our responsibility. Certainly, tourism is huge impact to the climate because of jet fuel. Our reliance on diesel engines at the electrical plant certainly carry a huge climate footprint. And again, trees can mitigate some of that, bring down the carbon from the atmosphere down into the soil, and that
Right.
sort of thing. So as far as Upcountry though, the climate impacts to Upcountry, which we're seeing a little bit more and more with stronger storms. As far as Upcountry goes, what do you suggest that I live Upcountry as well? What do we do Upcountry in order to take care of ourselves and help mitigate some of those climate impacts to farming, to homeowners, and to the natural environment?
Well, I started driving an electric car, up country, and what can we do? I'm open to anybody's suggestions, and I'm intelligent enough and have common sense to know what a good suggestion is. If
Yeah,
it's really good, I'll bring it up in a bill or something in the county,
right.
But as of right now, I don't know what is there anything more you can do up country? I'm asking you, you have any suggestions?
Oh,
Uh,
uh, yeah, but I'm not being interviewed. But yeah, I certainly have some ideas about starting an Upcountry resilience hub. A lot of communities are are starting up resilience hubs so that the local community can be more dependent on itself when impacts occur, so that we can react quickly. Seeing as what happened with the Kula fires and the Lahaina fires, and that whole tragedy. We want to be better prepared, certainly, for these climate impacts, because we don't know exactly. They don't schedule their dates. Okay, we're going to be a hurricane this day and a flood that day. So we have to be prepared and resilient as a community. And certainly working on that, getting the local community resources together, everything from volunteers to radio operators, search and rescue, all of those sorts of things is what a resilience hub does, to be on the ground and ready to
oh,
go in a moment's notice.
okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but
I
anyway,
understand.
I'm
I
not,
know, I understand
I
what
don't
you're
want to
saying.
answer the question. I don't want to answer the question, but I just want to give you a good idea, because that's near and dear to my heart.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So, but thank you.
Well, I
Thank you.
think the county has everything. Oh, I think the county has everything pretty much well done in terms of emergency vehicles and emergency. You know,
Uh, but,
I think
but if
even a
there's
fire,
access, if there's access issues, certainly in emergencies when there's no access, uh, we've got, the road in Olowalu, that sort of thing. When those things get knocked out and we're not able to, Lahaina was a good example that the, emergency systems couldn't get in, water wasn't available, all sorts of things. It was, pardon the pun, a perfect storm of everything
right?
that could
Exactly.
go wrong did go
Yes.
wrong. So we
Yeah.
need to be more prepared for that in the future. Do you have any ideas on how we can be more prepared for these types of emergencies?
Oh, that's a tough question. You know, like you said, Lahaina was a perfect storm, which I agree. It was so windy, blowing like 40, 50 miles an hour. And normally when there's Kona wind and a storm like that, there's normally rain. Well, I
Hmm.
don't know if it's climate change or what. I think eventually we're gonna have more windy days like that when, like even the Palisades in the Pacific Palisades, they're so windy, the fire just spread so fast. Just like Lahaina town, the fire spread so fast, there was nothing you can do about it, even if they had water, I think. Because my one of my tenants at my shopping center, which burned down during a fire, he took videos of the wind blowing against the trees.
Hmm.
Never saw the trees blow that hard before, you know.
Hmm. And it will
And
happen
normally,
again.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think it's going to happen again. But I think Maui will be prepared. I think they'll be prepared
You think we're
because we had.
currently prepared for something like a Lahaina fire today?
I, I think he learned from any mistakes. You know, I think he learned from any mistakes. I think we are. Maui, when it's windy like that, Maui Electric sends out information. You get it on your phone
Hmm.
saying that it's very windy, possible fires. Be prepared. So I think everybody's doing their part. They're trying to do their part at least.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay, great. Thank you. Well, I'm going to hand the mic over to Ms. Ann Pithcathley. Ann?
Sorry, I was muted and I didn't know it. Oh, geez. So I wanted to ask, we talked about water scarcity and solutions, but water rights are also an important issue, especially with sustainable agriculture and new developments. And so, and farming, as I said, what is your view on private versus corporate owned water companies controlling Maui? We have
I
this,
think.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
No,
we
go ahead.
have Maui Pono Network wanting control over the, is it 44,000 acres?
Yes, around there.
Yeah. And East Maui Water Authority
Irrigation.
wanting
Oh,
to manage it. Um,
yeah. I think right now they're going through casual, you know, talks, but I don't think they're getting anything done. I think eventually they're gonna have to court. The county will have to go to court. If Bisson gets reelected, he's set on getting the water from East Maui Irrigation, and East Maui Irrigation to defend them. They bought the land. They got the water that came with the land, basically, to water their crops. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think if Bisson gets in, he's going to go after the water. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take years to try and get the water. So that's why I think if I'm elected council, I would try and drill for more wells, make more reservoirs upcountry. That's my theory right now. If I get more information and I know what's going on, I might change my mind about East Maui irrigation. But as of right now, I think it's great that Maui Land and Pine is willing to turn over their wells. And there's, like Paul said earlier, there's like two other companies, private companies that want to turn over or sell it to the county. I think that's great.
do you
But I
support
don't
the
know what's going to
county
happen.
buying buying water companies like Land and Pine, Maui Land and Pine, and
Mhm.
I think Wailuku Water
Yeah.
Company too was for sale, is it not?
Yeah, I heard that too.
Okay.
Yes. So
So
if the
you,
county wants to buy those wells, I'm all for it. But if they try and go after East Maui Irrigation's water, from what I told, they pay 6 cents per gallon per 1,000 gallons. It's the lowest price in the whole state of Hawaii. And if they were to somehow win the battle of the water and they own the rights to the water, they'll have to pay like 60 cents per 1,000 gallons.
do
So if you
you
can spend
think
that
that,
kind of money,
yeah,
you can spend that
do
kind of
you
money. Why
think
don't we
that,
just build our own reservoirs and drill for our own water?
do you feel that Mahi Pono Farms is being efficient with water use?
I don't know that. I don't know, but I think some
There's
some of these
been,
streams that go into
yeah,
some of these streams that
stream
go into
diversion.
yeah, but so many like 40 million gallons has to reach the water per day or something like that. Why do we have to waste that water? You know, I'll have to
Well,
check on that too.
I believe there's still stream diversions that are affecting farmers, not allowing
Talking about
farmers to
oh
thrive,
yeah, right,
not
right.
getting their water, or at least a history
They
of it.
they get in their water, but right as of right now, aren't they?
Lucian, can you chime in on
Uh,
that?
uh, John, are you aware that the water that East Maui Irrigation uses, the majority of it comes from state lands? They don't own it. It comes from state lands and they have a lease on state lands. And what the County
Okay.
Water Authority is asking is to have a transition where eventually they will manage that lease. And Mahi Pono will still get water. It's the largest source of water on Maui, and it doesn't involve wells. It involves streams. And the other systems that the mayor is looking at buying also involve streams. What he's getting from Maui Land and Pine are mostly stream water, and I think there's one well upcountry that's involved with it. So this is about stream waters, but the stream waters in East Maui are from public lands, not private lands. So they're actually owned by the people. And the rate that is being charged is very low, but is it what would be the price forever? And the system also is very old and it has a lot of
Yeah,
maintenance. So there's
yeah,
I think the mayor's strategy is how can we bring everything up to the 21st century? As far as your question about, you know, the the different wells and things like that. There are many, many private wells on Maui, including the ones that East Maui Irrigation and Mahi Pono have 15 wells of their own that they do use to, supplement when they don't have the stream water. So there's wells all over being used, but we don't know a lot about our aquifers. So if the climate changes and we have less water, then those wells will give saltier and saltier water or less and less fresh water. So that's another thing to keep in mind. We actually need to get the knowledge. Like you're saying, I would need to, know more about it. And I think that's true. We all need to know more about it. But this is a public resource that EMI uses. Maui Land and Pine gets water from their own lands. The
right,
folks at Wailuku Water get water from their own lands. EMI gets water from public lands,
right,
mostly.
right. So,
Yeah.
so I think if they go to court, then the county would have a good case, then, right?
Well, there's no need to go to court. The governor could just do a transfer. It wouldn't take years. What would take good planning was how to make a transition between one steward, and EMI has taken care of this system and the diversions and things for many years. So the county would need to hire people who know the system. There would be a transition. It could be 5 or 10 years, but no one needs to waste any time in court. There could just be an executive order that says we're going to do a transition. This is just how things are heading, the direction that things are heading. So
Okay.
anyway,
Well,
just a little bit of background on that. But
right.
yeah,
Can-
I'm cutting into my own question
Yeah.
time here. But
Lucian's an authority on that. Can I ask another question? So, because that was kind of,
yeah, sure.
yeah, I just want to ask you, John, if you were serving at, and knowing, I think you have a background in real estate sales, right?
Yes.
A real estate agent, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, a
so
little bit, a little bit.
I'd like to ask that if you were serving as a council member, and when they had the controversial bill, very controversial bill, Maui County Bill 9 that was signed into law 2025, to revoking the grandfathered exemptions known as the Manitoia list that allowed thousands of apartment zone condos to operate as short-term rentals. How would you have voted on that?
I would have probably voted no,
No.
because I think it's unfair. Yeah, because I think it's unfair. From what I
Can
hear,
you
all
tell me
these
why
people
that's
who have,
unfair?
yeah, because all these people who have these short-term rentals, they follow the rule to the T. You know, they went through county told them to do everything. They did everything. I'll have to know more about this, but this is just what I know. And now all of a sudden it's being taken away. Their income that they make from the short-term rentals, they lose. They don't have any money from that. And I'm open to anybody's suggestions. I'm smart enough to know the difference between right and wrong. I have common sense. But as of right now, I probably would have voted no and asked for more information. Because what I understand, Kauai had the same problem. And I think Councilwoman Noe, she suggested that the homes that are around resort areas, this is the same as Kauai. They let them have their short-term rentals still.
I
But
think
all the
that's true
others
here.
that
I think that's true here in the
yeah,
hotel zoning.
yeah.
But
So
I think it was intended to house the fire survivors who were homeless, right?
yeah. There was at first all this FEMA people throwing money around, getting houses in Wailuku Kaului, all over the island, Kihei. And they had the homes ready for the Lahaina people, but they refused to move there. They said it was too far.
You're
Everything is
talking
paid
about
for.
FEMA, which is still has renewed
Yeah.
renewed this year. Right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those Manitoia owners owned what was it? I can't remember, 81 or 85% lived outside of Maui on the mainland, and many of them own multiple units.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? Still approve of
I
that?
think like if that's true, that's probably true what you're saying. So why don't we just tax them more on the property taxes to get our money back?
Are making the people that live here that own them maybe exempt them, but I think there's lawsuits about that right now, challenging
Yeah,
Bill
I think
9.
yeah, probably gonna have a lot more lawsuits too on top of that, I think. So it's gonna have to be brought back to the council on what they want to go, what they want to do, what direction they want to do. But I think Kauai is a good example of what they did. Like I think Councilwoman Noe is doing the same thing.
What did they
Another
do?
bill, I think.
What did you
The
say they
bill?
did? I'm sorry. In
I think
Kauai.
it's like Kauai they did the same thing. They did a zone, whatever zone resort, and the houses were that area. They could keep the short-term rentals, but they would have to pay resort taxes and everything. Whatever hotels pay, they pay the same thing. As for the houses that were out of the area, I'll try and give them at least 5 to 10 years, maybe 5 years. 5
I
years
see.
more. So they have a plan, what they can do. But, I don't really know much about it, to tell you the truth. It's just my friends telling me stuff,
Yeah.
I did speak to the woman who was in charge in Kauai. I did call her. And that's why she told me all about Kauai.
Are you saying that that the short-term rentals didn't convert, they stayed short-term rentals because they were in the hotel zone?
Yeah, they
And
stayed.
they were just taxed higher.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think people who in the mainland and they rent out their houses in Maui, I think they should be higher taxed. Because to me, that's well-off people. They have a lot of money. That means they have a second home on Maui. And you know how much houses cost on Maui.
Yeah, a lot of people, multimillionaires will buy here and only be
Yeah.
part-time
Residents.
renters, and they
Yeah.
often don't pay the state income taxes.
Yeah. That'll have to change. Well, at least the county taxes will have to change.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'll follow up on this a little bit. Just cut to the chase. So if you were on the council, John, what do you think you as a council member or your fellow council members should be doing to get more of the folks in Lahaina back in their homes, either, building more homes for rentals or allowing people to rebuild their own homes and businesses more quickly? What do you think you would want to concentrate on as a council member to, I assume you'd want to make that happen. I'm assuming, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I was just in Lahaina this past weekend, and I saw the houses that are coming up. It's coming up pretty fast. And I'm here at another meeting right now. Who's a contractor? He said he has 25 houses on contract to build. So I think they're going as fast as they can, but it's going to take time. That's all, I think. So I'll defend. I'll do my best to defend all these fire people who had houses burned down. I will try my best to have them have their house built back on their land.
All right, thank you. And in terms of the water situation in West Maui, the studies have been showing that the amount of water that was being used in the past for both the residences that are now burned and the resorts that are mostly still standing actually was putting a great strain on several of the aquifers there. In other words, the wells were showing salt levels that got higher and higher with sustained use.
That
So,
was when the drought, when Maui would hit a drought, right?
well,
When
groundwater is longer range. So when it rains, the water from that rain doesn't go into the aquifer right away. It takes many years to make its way down in the aquifer. So a drought will affect the aquifer, but not immediately. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it sinks into the earth, but it doesn't
Kinda
make
hard
it
to
all the
believe.
way down into the aquifer. The aquifer is hundreds of feet down. Yeah, that's I
Oh,
know.
wow. I
Funny
didn't know
funny
that.
fact, huh? Yeah, you got to hang out with
Yeah.
these geologists. But anyway, um, if there is some limit on water and how many new wells can be drilled, et cetera, in West Maui, would you be in favor of prioritizing the water there is for rebuilding homes that, working families and our teachers, our firemen, our hotel workers can afford?
Yes, I have no problem with that at all. But I still find it hard that the water takes years to get down to the aquifer.
Yeah,
That's
well,
still
it,
I'm still
it's interesting. It's a very mysterious subject, substance.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
whatever
Yeah.
crosses my desk, I'll pass if it helps the Lahaina people. I have no problem with that.
So if there was a bill introduced that said in Lahaina, for instance, just take a start, that water resources were going to be prioritized for housing that was, you know, affordable to people who were the past residents, you could see yourself supporting that.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. But I think it'll be very few times that would happen. It's my opinion.
All right. All right. I'm going to pass you over to Rita again.
Thank you, Lucianne. Our gracious moderator, Paul, has indicated that I am in my last round of questioning, so this will be my last question. And if everyone else can follow up with their final questions. We have a food issue about food security, more like food insecurity here on the island. If we were to be cut off from the port where most of our food comes in, a huge percentage of our food comes from off island. What would you do to make Maui more self-sufficient and food secure?
Well, that brings up the subject of Maui Pono. They're growing lots of fruits and vegetables for the people of Maui. I think that's a very positive direction we're going in, being self-sufficient. And there's a lot of cattle. You see Maui Cattle Company has a lot of cattle, a lot of meats in the markets. I think that's a great start, but we need to get bigger, I think.
And how would you work on the county council help in generating more food security here on the island? Maui Pono is not organic, right? And Maui Cattle is owned by Maui Pono. Do they produce enough food to feed the entire island? Would we not need to be dependent on food from off island?
No, we need more. We need more food. So I did not know Maui Pono owns Maui Cattle. Learn something every day.
That's my
But
understanding. If somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding that they bought Maui Cattle.
uh-huh. Well, they have 44,000 acres. They have a lot more room to build and plant fruits and vegetables.
No, they have
What I told.
they have 41,000 acres, and their intention is to take their important ag land, which is about 27,000, and use it for the basis of their farm. So, I mean, still a lot of acres, but it's not 44,000.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know a lot. You women know a lot. You putting pressure on me.
Well, I go to a lot of meetings.
Okay, well that's my final question, and I'm going to pass to Anne now. Anne, you need to unmute again.
I bet. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. Last question, Jon. So, if you're a council member at the time voting on this controversial bill that from August of 2025, that's Maui County Bills 171 and 172. And it was on land use and zoning measures that amended the rules for the Honua project, otherwise known as Wailea 670 in South Maui. It was a luxury real estate development, which had kind of reneged on affordable housing units. They went from 700 down to, I think, 288. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. And also kind of reneged on infrastructure and some, I believe it was a ballpark and other things. So how would you have voted on that? Are you familiar with that?
No, I missed the beginning part of your
Oh,
question.
okay. I was saying, if you were a council member
Sorry.
at the time voting on this very controversial bill, it was Maui County Bills 171 and 172. which about land use and zoning measures that amended the rules for I think most people know it as Wailea 670, but it was a Hanua Ula project, our partners project, that was in Wailea. They changed the number of affordable units there from 700 to 288 and reneged on infrastructure like widening of the Piolani Highway. And also, I think they changed some other things and eliminated a ballpark for the youth, which they needed badly. So how would you have voted on that? It was a big, it was had years upon years of community voices.
These are condominiums?
Have you heard of that Wailea 670 that went on by
No, I have not. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there were years and years of
1,150 units, 60% would be multifamily and 40% would be single family.
Right.
yeah, it's essentially a luxury.
288 would be affordable. They originally promised 700 affordable, 450 on site. They asked to change their zoning to be allowed to only build the 288 on site. Some council members thought that they should follow through and do what gave them their original zoning. Other council members said, well, we just need to adjust with the time. We should vote to amend the zoning. So it was amending the zoning to allow less affordable housing to be built and still let the project proceed.
Right. Well, maybe possibility is this is my suggestion. County takes over the infrastructure, maybe. We pay some infrastructure costs and hold them to the 700 affordable housing, in my opinion. Because a lot of developers of Maui are scared to come back to Maui because they're told they got to build their own infrastructure to whatever they're building. So it costs too much money. I'm sure the county knows the numbers, so that's why it got passed. I'm not really sure what the numbers were. I don't even know what Wailea was building at that time.
I think that's status quo in the mainland. A lot of developers do pay or contribute to the infrastructure.
Yeah, but Maui is different, I think. Well,
and why should that be different?
Because the cost of material is so much more higher here. For them to turn a profit would be really hard. I don't know if the project had already started and they asked for the 250 or 200 affordable housing to be lowered to that number. It was before it started.
Had not started. They went to amend what was required so that they could go ahead and start the project with the new, the new numbers in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wailea 670 has a very long history. I think up to a decade of just broken promises over the years. And I think Mayor Arakawa, I can't remember what year when he was a mayor, they lowered the amount of and I know Lucian, you would know this from.
I think we're wrapping up questions here, aren't we?
Okay, all right. Okay, scratch that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Paul, is there time for one more question?
Yes, Lucianne, if you have one more question, that'll be the final question, and then we'll end at this point in time, okay?
Great.
Thank you, Lucianne.
John, are you familiar with the Maui Island plan that is the general guidance growth plan for the island of Maui at all?
It's called, what's it called?
The Maui Island plan.
There's another name for that.
Well, there's only one name for it. There's community plans. There's a general plan for Maui Island, but then there's a Maui Island plan that has growth boundaries and it has policies. I wanted to ask you about a couple policies in there, but
Okay,
yeah,
you can try. I'll try to answer.
okay, so whether you're familiar or not, there's a number of policies about improving our drainage situations in our Maui Island plan, and several of them suggest that we set aside more lands to function as wetlands, especially in areas that naturally had these wetlands in the past, to help with
Right.
flooding that we're getting now. So if you were on the council, would you support following the policies in the plan and actually having the county either buy or just put restrictions on developing in areas that have been functioning as wetlands in flood times? In other words, they get flooded with water when
You
when
talking
it
about Kihei?
Kihei, yeah, Kihei, west side, we same, we have both sides. We have the wetlands.
Oh, yeah. I'll be for it. You know, make a very long answer short. Yes, I'll be for it.
Okay, and would you would you support actually spending money to acquire these lands, or would you see some other strategy to make sure that they don't get filled in and the water has someplace to go?
Yeah. I don't know about buying land from for the county. I don't know. I don't know really how that works, but I don't know. I'll have to really look into it. Tell you the truth.
Okay, well, thank you for your honest answers. Um, anything else, Paul, you want to wrap up there?
Yeah, I'll wrap up. But John, thank you so much for taking this time for this interview so that
Oh,
we all have a chance to get to know you a little bit better and to understand where you're coming from with a lot of these issues that we're facing here in the county. So thank you again for taking this time, and we will get this out to our community so that they can also get to know you a little bit better. So thank you for
thank you,
participating.
Paul.
Okay,
Thank you,
appreciate
Paul. I
it.
appreciate the time.
Okay.
Thank you, ladies.
Mahalo. I'm glad you
Ma-
made it.
Mahalo.
Drive
Yeah,
safe.
I'm glad to. I think. All right. Thank you,
All right.
ladies.